Thank you, Chazz, for sounding the call and bringing us all together and acknowledging America's second Independence Day. Welcome to the 28th annual Juneteenth celebration in Santa Monica. Our theme is Moving Forward Together. I'd like to thank everybody for coming in on the call, and we have many of our city council people here today with us. My name is Kathleen Benjamin, and I grew up in Santa Monica. I've been a member of the community for over 5 decades. I've enjoyed being an activist and a business owner. I've been associated with many civic groups. I'm a former president and current member of the Santa Monica City College Advisory Board. I'm honored to be your MC today. We are here today to celebrate Juneteenth. On June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing that enslaved Black people were now free, 2.5 years after Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. In 1992, LaVerne Ross, a local community activist, was instrumental in creating Juneteenth celebration for the city of Santa Monica. The event was initially small. However, LaVerne had the vision for it to expand and become something greater. She worked tirelessly to bring together the community and include the local chapter of NAACP and other civic-minded groups. She founded the Juneteenth Celebration Committee Incorporated, JCCI, a nonprofit dedicated to ensuring that Juneteenth will never be forgotten and that freedom for all would be celebrated. So LaVerne is always the vision for Juneteenth to eventually become a national holiday. This year marks the 28th anniversary of Santa Monica's Juneteenth celebration. Each year, the celebrations highlighted a great variety of traditional foods, vendors, entertainment, dancers, and music. An important component of the celebration are programs that bring awareness to health concerns that affect the Black community, such as screening for high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, and information on healthy aging. Also, voter registration has been a significant part of this program. Today, we thank LaVerne Ross, the mentor, the visionary, the trailblazer, and true in this community. We know over the last 3 weeks, we have witnessed what has become the tipping point in our society to address the barriers of systemic racism and lack of equitable opportunities for African Americans. Today, we have a panel who has experienced the racial divide in their professions. Our moderator and panelist, Eula Fritz, will introduce our panelists and facilitate the discussion on how we can move forward together as a community. Eula?
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I am honored to be here today. My name again is Eula Fritz, and I work at the city of Santa Monica. And today I have the honor and the privilege to really have an intimate dialogue today. I know that unfortunately we did have one panelist that was unable to join us today, Captain Derek Jacob, but we are so honored to have with us Dr. Kim Harris. And I do want to wish all of our viewers and musical guests a happy Juneteenth, happy Freedom Day, happy Jubilation Day. We are so honored to have Dr. Kim Harris. She's incredible. She's a very well accomplished individual. She is the Assistant Professor of Theological Studies at Loyola Marymount University. And she is a liturgical consultant for the Office of Black Ministry in the Archdiocese of New York. Dr. Harris records and travels the nation, performing concerts, lecturing on the music of African American freedom traditions, and leading music in a variety of liturgical settings. While pursuing her PhD at the Union Seminary, Dr. Harris composed Welcome Table, a mass of spirituals. And guess what? We get a special treat today because I know she's going to sing for us. So get ready. And along with composer M. Roger Holland II, who specializes in singing, like I said, spirituals and freedom songs, and presents arts and integration workshops offered to educators through the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. Welcome, Dr. Harris.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so pleased to be able to be here today.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. And before we get started, I did want to let our audience members know that if they do have some questions or wanting to engage in a discussion, to please enter them in the chat, because we will have time for a brief question and answer period at the end of our dialogue. So as I said earlier today, or just a few moments ago, that Juneteenth is known as Freedom Day. We celebrate today as General Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and he read the Emancipation Proclamation, and this set approximately 250,000 enslaved persons free. There are many people who have never heard of Juneteenth, yet everyone knows about the 4th of July, Independence Day. And Juneteenth is widely celebrated in the state of Texas, but it isn't considered a national holiday, even though it embodies the essence of freedom, especially living in America, the land of the free. Dr. Harris, can you share with us how you learned about the Juneteenth holiday?
Thank you for asking that. Well, being a musician, part of how I started to learn about it was through music. For a long time, I've sung the African American spirituals. Some people call them the Negro spirituals. And I did a lot of work about how some of those songs were used as secret codes during a time of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. So songs like Wade in the Water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water, God's gonna trouble water. So I knew that there were secret code songs that were a part of the spirituals tradition. Go down to Moses, wade in the water, songs telling that story about Moses leading his people to freedom, and songs sometimes used as a secret code, hoping that someone, a conductor like Harriet Tubman, who they also called Moses, would be leading her people to freedom. Or a song reminding people how to escape on their own, since most of the enslaved that were able to get away were escaping on their own. So I knew about that set of songs, but there were some other songs that were also spirituals, but they had different kinds of words like this. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. And I said, now wait a minute. That is obviously not a secret code song. Saying that everyone would know what you were talking about. And of course, one of the most famous of the freedom songs, the one that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. used at the end of the I Have a Dream speech, you know. Free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. These are from the spirituals tradition, are not obviously secret code songs. So at what kinds of events would these be sung? Well, that's when I began to learn about Juneteenth. Now, before there was Juneteenth, there were things like the watch night services, and one of the most famous one, of course, would be December 31st, 1862, when people were gathered waiting for the Emancipation Proclamation, and they were singing and they were praying, And so I heard about that celebration that, it said that, the way the story goes, it said, little old lady added some new words. Now, little old lady these days, I think that'd be me. So anyway, little old lady, was singing, go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. And then she said, go down, Abraham, way down in Dixieland, tell Jeff Davis to let my people go. So I knew about those types of celebrations, but then I began to hear about June, that celebration that began in Texas, as you were saying, Eula, but also spread around the country in various ways. And I said, that's the type of song, that "Oh Freedom," that's the type of song that would be sung at a Juneteenth celebration. Now, the other interesting thing about Juneteenth, as it becomes a national celebration, is that there are many states that actually have their own particular day to celebrate freedom, because freedom didn't come, especially for the northern states, it didn't all come on one day, because the Emancipation Proclamation did not free the slaves or the enslaved in places that had not seceded from the Union. So different places have ways of celebrating freedom. But right now, it's fantastic that Juneteenth is becoming more and more of a national celebration, and hopefully a national holiday.
I know that's what we are all really are wanting, and that's what we're all really praying for, because, and I think the good thing about it, there's this momentum that's building right now. And then we know that I grew up, in the Black church, and heard a lot of those songs, sang a lot of those songs that you were singing. And there was something that I really didn't learn about in school. I learned a lot of my Black history at home. And so Juneteenth is not a major chapter in the history books. Like I said, I didn't learn that in school. And a lot of the kids that are in school today, they don't learn about Black history, which is America's history, in school. And so, as we said, it's not a national holiday like the 4th of July, where America gained its independence from Britain in 1776. And then we can pause on that fact for just a moment, because here the year of 1776 was the year that America gained its independence. Yet there were people that were enslaved, that were not free until 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, right?
Very interesting as we talk about July the 4th. When I was growing up and hearing about Independence Day, I was not told, I didn't learn that there were African Americans who were fighting for the independence of the United States. So, of course, when we think about events like the Boston Massacre, Crispus Attucks, one of the very first to die for freedom, even though his people were enslaved at the time.
Exactly.
And 5,000 African Americans fought in the Revolutionary War on both sides, and that's a whole other story. So we have been a part of this fight for freedom since the beginning. And then African Americans who were a part of the Civil War, fighting for their own freedom. So there's so much of that, and it took a while for those pieces of history to begin to be added into the way history was taught. And what's interesting to me is hearing you talk about when you learned about some of these freedom stories. I knew these songs. I grew up, I was singing them in church, but for some
Hmm.
of them, I didn't learn about the freedom aspects of them till I got to school.
Right.
So that was very interesting to me too. Now, I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we were beginning to talk about Black history in school back when it was Black History Week.
Right.
So, I think that these days, uh, more and more African American history is being taught, bit by bit in the schools. There are
Hmm.
many of our churches that are also having celebrations of Black history, not only during Black History Month, but also they might be celebrating Kwanzaa just after Christmas. So there are ways that we're beginning to see more of this history. And what's interesting, I've been reflecting on this as I watch young people and some more seasoned people, we'll put it that way, marching in the streets.
Hmm.
And now, with seasoning, that's when you get the, salt and pepper up in the hair. You get that, right?
Yeah, I have that.
So as I see the young people marching in the streets around the country and thinking about what could have contributed to it, and part of what I really believe has contributed to that has been what has been taught in schools. Because, for many of these young people, they grew up not only with knowing and having a Black president, but even some of the ones that are a little older, they grew up learning some parts of African American history. And I think that because of that, they're beginning to say, well, yes, we know a little bit about this history. Now, of course, we still need to do more. But I think
Absolutely.
some of why we have so many people of different racial and ethnic heritages that are marching together. That, along with, of course, what they are able to see through social media, and those that saw the murder of George Floyd and have
Yeah.
heard all these other stories. So I think that's bringing it all together.
Yeah, exactly. When we're talking about Juneteenth and freedom, and now when we're having this momentum building around, um, really just this momentum that's building right now and around Juneteenth, especially within this last week, how do we continue to create the awareness, and better involve some of the future generations?
That's a great question. I really think that, especially because there has been controversy
Yeah.
around Juneteenth about when a president was going to have the rally and Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think that because of that, uh, there are more people now that know about Juneteenth. Though there have been many of us that have known about it for years and have been celebrating it for years. But I have a feeling that nothing will spread the news like controversy. So, I think not only are more people learning about Juneteenth, I know more people are learning about Greenwood and in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the
Yes.
destruction of Black Wall Street. So I think that there's more of that happening. And some of the professors at LMU, we laugh and we say, you have your Google machine. So if you don't know something, then it's very easy to look it up. These days. Yeah, you can just, Google Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, Black Wall Street, Juneteenth, and you will get the information very, very quickly. So I think that we just have to keep that going. For those who are educators, we need to continue to write curriculum.
Hmm.
And also the arts are always an amazing way to learn that, as you were talking about, part of what I do is arts integration workshops at the Kennedy Center. That's one of the ways you can really help people to remember and to learn and to grow in their knowledge.
Yes, everybody.
Absolutely, everybody. Including me. I learn something
Yeah.
new every day. One of the things that I learned this Juneteenth was that fact about there were masters who moved their enslaved, the people that they assumed that they owned, they moved them into Texas to
Right.
keep far away from the war that was going on, and so that they wouldn't be taken from them as what the Union Army called contraband.
Yeah.
So there was a significance to so many people finding out about their freedom in Texas, because there were more people enslaved in Texas than there had been before because of the movement of them being forced to move into Texas by the masters. So, every year learning something new.
Yeah, I learned that too. And that was something that I thought was very interesting where, because the Union Army really wasn't that present there. And folks were going because they were trying to really protect their property. So, and I can't believe right now there is actually someone even at my door, of course.
Oh my goodness.
That's my doorbell that you hear in the background. I apologize, everybody. But let's go on because they can wait, of course. I just want to say, there was one thing about how Black freedom was delayed. And then we can say that, and there's one point that I didn't want to forget that how Juneteenth focuses America to acknowledge one of its founding sins. And I've been hearing that word a lot. And all too often, people struggle to kind of discuss that and kind of dismiss it and realize how that there's a freedom delay. And we can say that the free, but they weren't liberated. And from laws that were put in place that legally enforced racial segregation to more of a current law of stop and frisk, these are laws and policies that are aimed at the Black community and continues to sidestep our human rights and civil protections that were enacted by the Civil Rights Act. So how does Juneteenth fit into a lot of the conversations that we're having now in these national conversations around justice or the lack thereof, equity or the lack thereof?
Thank you. I think that Juneteenth, as people learn more about that history, it helps them to know that when African Americans say that there have been laws that were enacted supposedly for our freedom that then were never fulfilled, about justice delayed and justice denied. Juneteenth is another of those types of examples. Because what does it mean to say that the enslaved are free and yet nothing really changes in their lives? Part of that announcement that General Granger made said, you are free, but you will not be able to come to where the Union troops are. Now, there's a reason why that was said, because when you look at history in places like South Carolina and North Carolina, well, the idea of the contraband, what do you do with these people that are now free and don't want to stay where they are living? So I think that as we learn more and reflect more on Juneteenth, it helps us to fill in some of the gaps. There are times when people are taught Black history and it sounds as if there was, the Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution, and then there was Rosa Parks, as if nothing happened in between that time period. I've spent some time watching Henry Louis Gates and his program on PBS about Reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that we are in some of the places that we are right now as a country are because of what happened during Reconstruction. I've spent some time with my students at LMU teaching a course called The Cross and the Lynching Tree. And so many of them, they don't know what lynching is. They don't know that it's been a long history. They think, well, the slaves must have been lynched. Well, you weren't going to lynch your property because enslaved people were worth a lot of money. But then after freedom came, after those amendments were passed to the Constitution, then one of the ways that control was tried to be put on African American communities was by the terror of lynching, and how that really has continued truly until our own day.
Right.
So those are the kinds of things we have to keep thinking about that. And so Juneteenth, that helps to fit into that timeline of what has gone on, about the justice that has been delayed, and that helps us to get a better sense, especially of systemic racism. I had to laugh the other day, sort of that just shake in my head kind of laugh when I heard that, I guess, the definition of racism in the dictionary, I believe Merriam-Webster, is getting changed.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
because people were continue to think about racism as that one-to-one interaction, and in the definition in the dictionary doesn't say anything about systemic racism, about
Right.
policies and laws. And that's what people grew up with. So we're continuing to learn and to grow about what are the outcomes of the original sin of the United States, or one of them, because of course, thinking about the indigenous people, the people whose land this is, so we're continuing to learn and to grow. And I think this increasing knowledge about Juneteenth is helping us to grow.
It really is helping us to grow in ways I think that we have never even experienced it before. Where there's so much now, the videos that are out, and the use of video to record racist action has been a catalyst for many of the protests. Historically, Black churches have been a leader in civil rights and political actions. But today, we see protest actions largely organized online and driven by a younger generation. What traditional institutions, particularly the Black churches, learn and contribute to this movement and support the voice of the younger generation?
Well, that's a question that I think about that question actually a fair amount. In terms of the use of media to help spread the news, now you might be too young to remember this.
No, I have a lot of gray. It's just hidden.
That during the civil rights movement, it was then, when newscast, there wasn't a 24-hour news cycle. The news, I remember watching that at home, the national news went for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And yet, when the cameras began to record young people protesting in places like Birmingham, Alabama, and having, the fire hoses and the dogs being turned on them, that was one of those moments when the media really helped to publicize what was going on. So what's happening now with social media and, the very horrible images that we see, spreading the news of what is happening, that once again, that's part of the continuum. We just have better cameras. We just have a 24-hour news cycle, those types of things. Now, also at that time, young people were very much involved in the civil rights movement. One way you can tell is that some of the freedom songs that they sang, that many African American young people grew up singing in church, they combined them with some of the Motown songs that they were hearing and singing about on the radio. Now, let me give you an example of that, and then I'll go on to continue answering your question. But there was a song that, was sung in church that said, "Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. Oh, yeah, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah." Well, during the civil rights movement, you could hear young people and some of the more seasoned people, and they started singing, "Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Oh, yeah, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed free. Morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Motown influence? It's here, especially people like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the SNCC Freedom Singers. They started to sing, you gotta walk, walk, you gotta walk, walk, yeah, walk, walk with your mind on freedom, walk, walk, come on, walk, walk, you gotta walk, walk with your mind on freedom, oh. That's okay, so the influences really began to come together. Now, one of the things that I've been noticing and actually doing some writing about is that these days don't hear the songs coming out of the church. So they're not coming out of the churches, I'll say, in the traditions, because African Americans are part of many different traditions, and moving into the streets. So I think that that is part of what's happening. But you still hear young people singing. Now, because I'm a musician, I have particularly been listening to what are young people singing. Now, there's been a lot of chanting about Black Lives Matter, but every now and again you'll hear them say, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, they're singing Lean on Me. And I thought, very interesting. Also, especially at the beginning of the Black Lives Movement, you heard people chanting just a little piece of I'm going to be all right. That became part of what they did. So it would be interesting to see if more songs could come out of the churches and in. There are some other reasons why it's been more difficult to connect some of the churches. I'm not going to say all of them, because there certainly are some, especially right now, that are really a part of this movement that's happening right now. But part of it has been because for the Black Lives Matter movement, that movement came out of a group of women, a group of young women and people that were welcoming to the LGBTQ community. And, that thinking about that and thinking about some of the Black churches, there wasn't going to be a connection between the LGBTQ community and some of the Black churches. So that also kept things more separate at the beginning. And yet still you will hear occasionally people singing, "We shall overcome." But I hear young people sometimes say, "We shall overcome," that's one of those old songs. We need some new songs. And it's true. Or you need to take that song and, get it moving a little bit more, because, the young people and the arts, that's going to help them be invigorated, just as it did during the civil rights movement. And we're still in a civil rights movement.
Yes, we are. I completely agree with you. And I think our young people are really reaching back to some of those songs, and they can change them. They can make them their own and really kind of keep moving forward. It's just so refreshing to see a lot of, as I've watched a lot of the protests on TV and to see the younger folks out there, it's just really refreshing to see that. And to see a lot of change and advancement that we have had throughout our history. We've had a lot of prominent Black leaders as well, ultimately leading up to President Barack Obama, right, to the highest office in the land. But yet there's this paradigm shift with, as you mentioned earlier, the public assassination of George Floyd and the call for structural change to these strongholds in our institutions. I really feel that it's like our opportunity to change and to rewrite history and reshape the future. And, there's no longer that narrative of power over someone, but, and we're trying to change that, where it's power together, and where even a change from Black Lives Matter, the transition to all Black Lives Matter, to where we embrace, as you mentioned earlier, the LGBTQ plus community, and June being Pride Month, right? Where we are all included, where there's no longer this divide, even within our own Black community, of the LGBTQ community and especially in the churches, and how that comes a little bit closer together, but we're all included and we're seen holistically. So really, what is the call to action here? And how do we move forward from this?
I think there are several ways, and I'll just give you a few things that I've been thinking about. I mean, what's interesting to me is that these days, I wake up in the morning, I try not to just watch, MSNBC all day long. But,
Right.
One of the good things about it is that I get to hear the voices of younger people. I get to hear the voices of founders of Black Lives Matter movement, some of whom have gone on. So continuing to hear what, scholars and activists and, of course, medical professionals these days, because we're still in this time of pandemic. Here we are on the, So calls to action. There are some different ones that I've been thinking about. I heard someone say the other day, and I'm sorry that I can't tell you exactly who said this, but they said, when you call people allies, that sounds as if they have their own particular struggle and you have yours and they're helping you out on yours. They said that, so we need to not think in terms of allies so much, because we are all in this struggle together. And that really stayed with me. So when I think about it, I'm thinking these days that, first of all, you have to go with the personal. What are the things we need to do personally? Now, for some, it might mean reading a book, watching a movie, learning some more about American history, and in particular, African American history as a part of the wider American history. For some others, it needs to be thinking about what is going on in the community. Look around your community. What's happening in the schools? My heart just sinks when I hear about things like, a noose being hung in a school in Santa Monica. I mean, it breaks my heart. It lets me know that in some families and in some communities, I've not been talking about what that means. Then we also have to think about what is going on and how to plan strategically so that we can change policies around policing, policies within different corporations. I mean, I love all of these statements that are being put out, but something needs to be done. How does your boardroom look? How does your human resources department look? Who is being hired? Who is being fired? Those are the kinds of things that we need. And of course, you got to vote. You got to register.
Amen.
Must vote. Now, I sent in my absentee ballot, because I vote still in New York State. So there are things that we need to do. So the personal, what can you do personally to continue to learn more? The community, what is happening there? What do you see? What do you experience? And then the systemic in terms of policies and plans, but vote, vote, vote. Register and vote, vote, vote.
You're really spot on. And when you say, what can I do? And I think there is that need for self-reflection, where folks really need to kind of not only self-reflect, see how they can educate themselves. And it's not only like an introspection for like America, like America needs to self-reflect and needs to introspect, but all of us individually have to look within ourselves and not be expected. When the call for us as individuals need to change, it's not that I have to say, how can I change? I'm not going to ask another person, how can I change? How can I change? I have to be incumbent upon myself. I have to educate myself. I have to take the responsibility to make that change and educate myself, whether it's Google, like you referenced before, right? I mean, Google is amazing. I just got rid of my whole encyclopedia set because you don't need it anymore because there's Google. And so, I mean, we don't need much to acknowledge someone's life and humanity. You don't need a lot. And we've seen the diversity of the protesters. And I mentioned earlier, it's so beautiful to see. And in between the protesting and the organizing and the self-reflection, and for some of us watching all these things on the news, and as you mentioned, of looking at NBC, I mean, I think it was a week or so ago, I had watched CNN probably more so that day, a couple of weeks ago, than I ever had. I never watch it. CNN. Not that I'm not informed. So let's take a step back. See, I'm not saying I'm not informed, but I don't consume myself in that fashion. And so I say all this to say that we definitely, there is going to be a need for self-care and a healing that each of us, in order for us to take these steps forward together and to make these changes happen, we got to kind of take some time out and take care of ourselves in the midst of all of this with the COVID and the breaking downs of strongholds and breaking downs of systems. And for some people, it's really easy. For some of the other folks, it's really easy. But I think I will just say for Black people, I think sometimes self-care is a struggle. We're something that we're not accustomed to. We don't put ourselves on the forefront like that, because especially as for Black women, we're all with the nurturers, the ones that carry our whole race on our back. You got to take care of the kids. You have to take care of your husband. You got to take care of everybody. You got to take care of you're taking care of everybody. And we've been conditioned that way since slavery, of taking care of everybody but us. How can Black people in particular take a time to heal and protect one another, really, in these times of unrest and these times of what can be seen as uncertainty in our daily life?
Well, I'm going to lean on what my mom always tells me.
Okay.
So if you don't remember anything else from today, PIES&S. Pies. The physical, the intellectual, the emotional, the social, and the spiritual.
Okay, say that one more time, just so for everybody that's listening, say that one more time.
PIES&S. The physical, the intellectual, the emotional, the social, and the spiritual.
Yes.
We have to care for ourselves physically. These days, wear that mask. I've got some of those beautiful masks that one of my mom's neighbors makes. Wear the mask, because you're going to be taking care of yourself, but mostly you're also going to be taking care of other people around you. Okay? Wash your hands. Do what you need to do in this time of pandemic that's going to be with us for a while. I think science is a gift from God. Pay attention, y'all. Okay? The intellectual. Definitely spend some time learning and quietly reflecting, but then also take some time off. Last night I loved it because on several different channels they were showing Black Panther movie, and then they showed Just Mercy. So, first I got to watch Black Panther and look at all the really great, especially I'm looking at the fashion. Okay. So taking that time, and I feel so good watching that. But then, and both my mom and I watched Just Mercy, thinking about Bryan Stevenson and the incredible work that he has done. But, you have to have that intellectual time off to play and enjoy, then also to learn. The emotional aspect. I have to say that since hearing about Breonna Taylor and, watching the murder of George Floyd, there is some time in each and every day when I cry. And I just know, I might be watching something on TV or hearing, the mothers of the people that have been killed or their relatives, and I just cry. If that's how you feel, just let that happen, because your body, your soul, your psyche is telling you, you must grieve, you must lament, scream into your pillow if you need to, because these events are worth a very loud lament. So take care of yourself emotionally, socially. You know, you got to be reaching out to people, and it might be on, what are we on, Blue Jeans? It might be on Zoom. You know, however you're going to do it, you must reach out and be with people. Now that some of our states are starting to open up, you know, I'm planning a backyard visit with some friends. I'm going to go, you know, get some good fried chicken, have some sangria and some potato salad. And I'm not even going in their house. To sit in the backyard with them, you know, so think of creative ways of being social. And then, of course, the spiritual. Now, there are so many different ways to have a healthy spiritual life. It might be that you are Buddhist. It might be that you are Muslim. It might be that you're Jewish. It might be that you are Catholic. It might be that you are, you know, Episcopal or Baptist or AME. Attend to your spiritual life. And however that tradition is. And if you're saying, well, I'm atheist or agnostic, well, you know what? Go sit by the ocean. Watch the waves come in. Yeah. I always say to my students that, you know, the spiritual, you know, it could be that you just see a big wave come in and you say, that's a lot bigger than me, you know, and that might be your spiritual life. And, you know, that's fine, but you must attend to it. And we have to, particularly in time of pandemic, make sure that we care for it. I'll say one more time, PIESNS. Physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and spiritual. So just attend to all those parts of your life.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. You just have to. You just have to take care of yourself in the midst of everything that's going on, because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. You really, you can't, because you're pouring so much, you just empty yourself out. So thank you so much today. I have really, and I can talk to you like all day, every day. You are like, I mean, it's just like, we could just talk forever. Oh my goodness.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I really miss getting to hear Captain Jacobs.
Yes, Derek Jacob, yes.
Yes, I really, you know, I'm so sorry that he wasn't able to be with us today. So I hope that there'll be another time we can have the conversation together, because I would really appreciate that.
You know what? I'm going to make a point of that so that we can bring us all back on and do another. I think this can be like a series. This doesn't have to end here because it's Juneteenth. And I know we have a lot of important people listening. And I know there's going to be a lot of various other dialogues that are going to be happening in the city. And some of those people are listening with us today. So maybe I'm happy, as we do, I'm passing the torch on to them so that they can help bring Captain Derek Jacob as well as you, and we can have another dialogue. And I think this is just, I just love, as you can see, I just love talking. I can just talk forever. And you know, people be like, Eula, it's time. But I just love talking, and I love sharing that what I have with other people, and I love hearing stories. I know all of us have a story. We're each of us are living beings. We all have our own story, and I appreciate you and you sharing yourself with us today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And everyone, just remember to breathe.
Yeah.
You know, we march and we say those words that were the last words of Eric Garner and last words, you know, of George Floyd, you know, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
And we continue to say that as we march. And as you do, make sure you take the time to breathe.
And can we just all just take a breath right now? I mean, just everybody just close your eyes with me, you know, right now. And as we just kind of just pause for just one moment and take a couple of breaths. Dr. Harris, may God bless you. Thank you. For right now, I don't see that we have any questions. I wanted to see if we have any questions in the chat or any thoughts? And I don't see anything right now, but that doesn't mean that it may not come later, because I think there's going to be more of these conversations happening. And I'm always grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for this platform. Right now, again, thank you for your time today. I will now turn our event back over to our MC, Kathleen Benjamin.
Ladies, thank you so much for that conversation. It was so beautiful as we all just take in to keep our cups filled so that we can be full to overflowing and share. And quite frankly, I'm not going to look at pies. I'm going to be looking at pies so differently from now on. That's awesome. And Kim, thank your mom for that. That's powerful.
I sure will. I will.
Thank you, ladies. For the past 15 years, Aaron Nigel Smith has worked to educate, empower, and entertain youth and families around the world. In 2005, Aaron's debut CD release, Let's Pretend, won the NAPPA and the iParenting Media Award. His 2010 CD, Everyone Loves to Dance, received the Parents' Choice Recognition Award in People's Magazine. Collaborated with Ziggy Marley on a Bob Marley children's record, B is for Bob. Please welcome and show your love for Aaron Nigel Smith.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here, and happy Juneteenth to everyone. Thank you so much for the talk. I really appreciated all the wisdom and knowledge that was shared. And Sister Kim, you're singing all those spirituals, taking me back to my days as a Jubilee singer. When I moved to LA, I ended up joining the Albert McNeil Jubilee Singers and singing those spiritual songs and traveling all around the world as an ambassador of that message. So thanks for bringing those songs back up for me. That was definitely cool. So in honor of this day, I'd like to just start out with the Black National Anthem. And if you know it, sing along, but go ahead and mute yourself. All right. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the heart of live. Let our rejoicing rise high as the rise. Let it resound loud as the roar. Full of the faith that the dark past has taught. Sing. Full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us rejoice till victory. The words that's messed up. But anyway, let's carry on now. I'm going to kick it off with a song that I like to sing to all of the youth that I teach around the world, to give them a little bit of insight into a little bit of song that has some African lineage. So I teach them all this song called Funga Alafia, which is from the country of Liberia that was formed by liberated slaves. And the message of this song is welcome and we wish you peace. So it's really the first song that I like to share with all the youth that I get to work with. So hope you enjoy, and by the end, I bet you'll be able to sing along too, all right? Funga alafia, ashe, ashe. Funga alafia, ashe, ashe. Funga alafia, ashe, ashe. Funga alafia, ashe, ashe. Welcome, we wish you peace. Welcome to the village, share a song with me. Welcome to the dance, we love to move and be free. Welcome to the melody, now let's create some harmony. Funga alafia, ashe, ashe. Bonga alafia, ashe, ashe. Bonga alafia, ashe, ashe. Bonga alafia, ashe, ashe. Welcome, we wish you peace. Welcome to the village, share a song with me. Welcome to the dance, we love to move and be free. Welcome to the melody, now let's create some harmony. Bonga alafia, ashe, ashe. Bonga alafia, ashe, ashe. Bonga alafia, ashe, ashe. Bonga alafia, ashe, ashe. Right. I think my camera went out. I think the battery died or something. So if you can still hear me, hold that second. I'm going to put a new battery in that, and then we'll keep on rocking. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the sound was still going or not, but hopefully that wasn't too disruptive. I'll keep on rocking, and thanks for the drum fill, my man Chazz. Next tune, I will do a song from an album that I did a couple years ago called One, which was really trying to inspire unity on our planet, because it's unity for you and me, yeah? It's not too high to count, and it's not too many miles, and it's not too many dollars, and it's not too many smiles. If it's just one, we can help along the way to have a beautiful day. One woman, one man, one boy, one girl, yeah. If it's just one life that we can change to help to see a better day. One love to share with all the world, yeah. Not too many drums, and it's not too many gongs, and it's not too many dreams, and it's not too many songs. If it's just one, yeah. If it's just one, yeah. One woman, one man, one boy, one girl, yeah. If it's just one life that we can change to help to see a better day. One love to share with all the world, yeah. If it's just one, oh, if it's just one, yeah. One woman, one man, one boy, one girl, yeah. If it's just one, if it's just one, yeah. One love to share with all the world. And it's not too many mountains, and not too many stars, and it's not too many lives to touch, and not too many hearts, yeah. Well, are you big enough to help today? Then put one finger in the sky, reach really, really high and say, yeah, yeah, yeah. If it's just one, if it's just one, yeah. One woman, one man, one boy, one girl, yeah. If it's just one, if it's just one, whoa. One love to share with all the world. Man, it's unity for you and me every time, right? Cool, cool. So, I hadn't planned on doing this song, but I'm just going to let the spirit move. This is a song that came up for me really the day that I got word of the murder of George Floyd. It's a newer song, so hope I don't mess it up too bad. No, not again. Can't overstand another killing of a brother by a policeman. Watch the trend. It now going 400 years ago. It started. Here we go again. I can breathe. Officer, please, I can breathe. I'm not resisting, I can breathe. Somebody help me, please, I can't breathe. You're killing me. Babylon won't quit when they have we in the grip. Rob we of our lives and won't even trip. No respect. What do you expect? Holy for brothers, them a slaughter. Now the knee on the neck. I can't breathe. Officer, please. I can't breathe. Somebody help me, please. I can't breathe. I'm not resisting, no, I can't breathe. You're killing me. I can't breathe. You're killing me. No, 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 I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Yeah, so just a little tribute to George Floyd there, yeah. And with that, I'd love to just breathe in and out with all of you one time, yeah? Yeah, and just experience that breath that that he was denied, yeah? I would like to do one more song, I think, and then this is in the spirit of really redemption. A song by an influential key influence for me, really, the great Bob Marley wrote a song that speaks to this, and I'm sure you might know it. Old pirates, yes, they robbed I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. So won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song, redemption song. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop at your time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Yes, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill Jabu. Won't you help to sing another song of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, did you know, redemption song. These songs of freedom, oh yeah. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, no, 'cause none of them can stop at your time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Yeah, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill Jabu. So won't you help to sing another song of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, did you know? Redemption song. Redemption song. These songs of freedom, yeah. Redemption song. Yes, man. Yes, man. Respect and love and honor and liberation and freedom, yeah? So thank you all so much. Thanks so much for everyone that's out there listening. Thanks so much to all the protesters that are out there in the street fighting and standing up and letting their voices be heard. Thanks for all the wisdom of our mentors and our elders that are showing us the way. On that note, actually, maybe there's one more tune I got, and that is, I guess it's not too far back when we were dealing with apartheid in South Africa and still, obviously discrimination in South Africa. But during the freedom fight in South Africa, there was a song called Siyahamba, Ekukayen Kwenkos in the Zulu dialect. That was a common song that was sung during that fight for freedom against apartheid in South Africa. And for that again just kind of came up for me now too, to maybe end it off with that on an up note that we are marching in the light of God. Yeah. Usiyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba, siyahamba. Masiyahamba kukayen kwenkos. We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, we are marching, ooh, we are marching in the light of God. Yeah, we are marching, we are marching, ooh, we are marching in the light of God. Siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba, siyahamba, ooh, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos, siyahamba, siyahamba, siyahamba kukayen kwenkos. Yes, love. Peace, love, honor, justice, and liberty, yeah?
So awesome. Thank you, Aaron. That was beautiful and so much fun. Woo! Yeah. So I'm going to turn it back over to Eula because we have some questions in the chat. Eula?
Yes, thank you so much. And I have to say, I love that song. My choir sings that song. I love that song. I just hear the sopranos hitting those high notes. Sorry. Okay, so want to check in. We do have some questions. So we have one from Monique that says, thank you for your insight, Dr. Harris. Can you speak to our oral traditions and now being given a greater voice during these moments? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me pause on that. Let me read that one more time. Can you speak to our oral traditions and now being given a greater voice during these moments?
Well, the idea of oral traditions, of course, was brought with people from their African homeland.
Yes.
And so there were, the griot was a very important person, continues to be a song leader, storyteller, historian that kept the history of the people going. So that's part of a tradition that came from our African homelands. We continue it now. So we need to particularly listen because we each need to be able to speak. We each need to be able to communicate, to tell the stories, to explain the definitions, to remember the history. And I'd have to say that one of the things I had, in all my hours watching in MSNBC and all the other channels, see, some of the younger people who are, some of the as I was saying, some of the founders of Black Lives Matter movement, hear the college students, because I also hear them at LMU, and to hear, there is a way of speaking and expressing ourselves that is really culturally cued, and it is a great way to have our story told. So yes, we have to, we've got to be able to write because we're in a society that values that, but for ourselves, we must continue the oral tradition experience. So, when I hear the poetry, go to a poetry slam, the kind of thing, you can hear that that's still a part of who we are. So we have got to keep that going. Absolutely.
Yes, we do. We have another one. It says, in one of our local schools in Santa Monica, our principal for the first time is talking about incorporating racial and social justice into all aspects of school curriculum. We've also talked about the need to diversify our school and classroom libraries so that all of our children's reading choices reflect the beauty of a multicultural Los Angeles, both in history, but also in the slice of life of books. However, in conversations, it is clear we need to reach out beyond our school community to engage Black and Latino leadership in Santa Monica. Do you have any advice for our schools in doing this?
Well, what's interesting, I think part of me, as soon as I heard the word library, that just sort of went, in terms of really diversifying the library, some of you may or may not know that LMU has an incredible children's library. And so you can definitely, and I'm, I always had take my classes. I take my college classes to the library to learn from the children's librarians, because that's how you can learn many things fairly quickly. Now, in terms of reaching out, one of the places that I would start, just because of what my experience has been, was opportunities, because there are within the Santa Monica area and even beyond the Santa Monica area right now, there are faith communities that are making greater connection with each other than perhaps they had done before, and some of them have been doing a great deal. So that might be a good place to start, to think about that. There might be ways of having schools that are partnered and working together. And, I'm always going to say, go with the arts. Can you get a choir together that has people from many different schools? So I think there are some ways that we can reach out to each other, but those would be my first two. I would reach out to faith traditions, and I would definitely reach out to arts organizations, for sure.
Okay. We have time for a couple of more questions. One is also, how is this moment seem to be driven by a younger generation, or basically since movement is really driven by a younger generation, how can well-seasoned persons contribute?
I think there are a lot of ways, and thank you for saying that we well-seasoned.
I feel well-seasoned.
how we can contribute, because there are some of us that for health reasons are really not going to be going out, right, and marching into the streets. First of all, if you can encourage whoever your circle is to register to vote. So if there's some people that you can reach out to, and you can reach out to them online, I know, now, did I hear that California has just become a vote by mail state? Did I hear that?
I think I heard that as well, that was what will happen in November, that it will be voting by mail. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. So, make sure that everyone is registered to vote. Now, that's something you can do from being in your house. Also, I have been honored to be able to go to meetings of the Committee for Racial Justice. You can find committees and groups of people these days that you can join and learn and listen now, and you don't have to leave your living room or wherever your computer is. So I think in some ways, even as the younger people are marching in the streets, because of that we are in this time of pandemic, there are many, many more events that are happening online. So get yourself, and obviously if you're here today, you already are able to get on, learn what you can, go to various meetings. It is a lot easier to just say, this is what I'm going to go to, and just click in and go from there. So I would say educate yourself and make sure everybody that is registered to vote.
Absolutely. Second to the last question. Uh-oh, I lost it. Hold on. Bear with me just a second. Scroll down too fast. How do the panelists, or how do you see art contributing to this movement?
Well, absolutely. I see art contributing to this movement. First of all, it is a way, when we think of teaching our young people, they're going to remember the kinds of things that they learn through the arts. So they're going to remember either, a book that they read. I see a wonderful young person right there.
You should take my thing out.
A book that they read, they're going to remember a song that they sing, and all, so art education is so important, and integrating the arts into different types of curricula is really important. And as I was saying earlier, how I learned about the secret code songs of the Underground Railroad was at your old-fashioned basic assembly program. When I was in fourth grade, about a zillion years ago, right? I was in fourth grade, and I remembered it forever. Now, you might be thinking, all right, we're online, we're not in schools.
Right.
What's very interesting is that many of the performers for young people are doing their shows online. And these days you can see people from all over the country. So I would say go to the website of the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts and, look on their education department. There are all kinds of programs that are being offered, but you don't even have to, take yourself across the country online, because I'm sure that there are many things that are being offered online in the Los Angeles area. And a great way to learn. I mean, it's funny because, a minister, a lot of ministers say, I work really hard on my sermon, and what people remember are the songs that we did.
Right.
The same thing. You can sit with your young people and teach them and talk to them, but part of what they're going to remember really are things that are integrated with the arts that will help them to know things and to remember things for a long time.
And I think you kind of, in your answer, you answered this other question, really. The second part of the same person's question was, what can we do as a community to inspire and use some of our African traditions and honor our ancestors instead of run from them and embrace them? And as a parent with an 8-year-old, it's really can sometimes be challenging because, it's not an iPad, it's not a computer game, and that's something that they really they're fixated to, versus something that is historical and traditional that sometimes they may not have a greater interest in.
Well, if they, if the young people are able to take some kind of lessons, that's always fantastic. So, get a djembe, get some percussion instruments. Can take lessons online these days, and they can work with a teacher. And there's something about the actual vibration, the vibrations, and there's something about learning to sing the songs. When we were talking about that PIES and S, our bodies react to these cultural traditions. And so I know that music lessons, art lessons, things, they are all being offered online these days. So not only watch things that are going on, but you have to physically do them. And there's a great way to do it. So, go to the store, get a djembe, get a tambourine, get something, and it also helps with all the energy that's running around.
Well, I think on our last comment, we have a comment from Catherine Jeffrey, and who is president of Santa Monica College, and she just says, "Thank you for this conversation with Kim Harris, Dr. Kim Harris. Learning about the history of Black history is truly integrally a significant part of the history of America. Not putting it correctly in the history books and classes and schools does not eliminate the reality that these in the history of this country. Love that COVID-19 didn't keep us from celebrating Juneteenth together." And so, and I really think, and that was one big push. We really wanted to do this. And I just want to, and I'm not stealing your thunder, Kathleen, I promise you. But I do want to just say, really, there was still a need, even now with the COVID and people, being a little apprehensive to come together. We still want to have a platform, still want to have a conversation, and still want to connect. More importantly, this is connecting with all of our viewers out there. We're still connecting, even though, like you said before, how connecting is so important, and connecting with 68 individuals, and with us not necessarily even touching and agreeing and hugging each other, because we're such a social people. And hugging, I just love to hug people, and I'm hugging you, Dr. Harris. I'm just hugging you because I love this. And there was one comment on here and I missed it, but I did want to say, she said something about doing this quarterly. I can't find it in the scroll, but we got to do this, so, and much hugs to that person that said it. So again, thank you, hugs to you, God bless you. And I know our time is winding short, so I will turn this over to our MC, Kathleen Benjamin.
Awesome. I want to thank you, the entire community, for joining us together today and engaging. This was so much fun. We are all part of the solution to move forward and make immediate change. Today, we honor the heroes and heroes of the past and present. We speak their name and acknowledge their power and bravery to confront racism and oppression. We want to thank LaVerne. LaVerne is really an advocate for keeping the tradition and the voice going. She's a visionary that brought this event to Santa Monica and is always at the planning table. Today, we want to thank Sylvia and Julio from the Santa Monica Library, the Pico branch, for managing this platform. And we want to thank our amazing panelist, Dr. Kim Harris. That was an awesome conversation. And we want to thank the amazing Chazz Ross for bringing in and keeping us in beat. Thank you for the support of the Broad Stage and introducing us to Aaron. And thank you, Aaron, for your amazing performance. None of this would have been possible without the committee working behind the scenes. We recognize these people who have spent their time planning today. That's LaVerne Ross, Phyllis Miller, Robert Callahan, Kathleen Benjamin, city staff of Carla Fantozzi and Eula Fritz. We continue moving forward together. This is the time to celebrate, and yet we still have a lot of work to do. In Santa Monica, we're still fighting for business incentives, fair housing, representation, and just the right to thrive. We are seeking to enjoy the benefits as laid out in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Let us lead the way in building the beloved community that Dr. Martin Luther King envisioned. Thank you all today for supporting the 28th annual Juneteenth celebration, moving forward together. And let's get out there and rock the vote. Thank you, everyone. Whoop, whoop.
Aaron, we hear you. Aaron.
Okay. I think he went to get his guitar.
Say again. What's up, Chazz? Nice rocking, brother.
Let's jam.
Oh, you want to rock it out, bro?
Yeah.
Let's get it. Well, rock it in our reggae style. You have a one drop for me?
Okay.
Whoa, it's Juneteenth celebration. Yeah, yeah. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, yeah, it's just a Juneteenth celebration. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Thank you, Sister Kim. Yeah, 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 yeah. Whoa, oh, and Sister Benjamin, yeah. Whoa, whoa, and thank you, brother Chazz, yeah. And thank you, Eula too, woo, you, and that's you, yeah. Big up to the broad stage too, whoa, yeah. And big up to you for tuning in too. Yeah. Tell me what you gonna do. Chazz, bring the rhythm, brother. What? Yeah, rhythm too. It's just a virtual jam tune. Yeah. It's just a virtual jam tune. Rhythm, Chazz. Bro. It's just a virtual jam tune for you. Just a virtual jam tune, too. Yeah.
Give a little song. Let's hear your voice.
What? Yeah.
Aaron.
What? Yeah. What? Let me turn up your volume some. Nice. Rhythm sound good. Rhythm sound full. Rhythm sound nice. Rhythm sound good. Give me some food. It's Jubilee time. Wait, is Sister Kim still here? Is Sister Kim still
Yes.
here? Jump
Yes.
on the mic, Sister Kim. Jump on the mic. Jam with him.
And I don't know if it's coming up in sync
I hear
or
it.
not.
Yes.
You hear it?
Kim, we don't hear you. Kim.
It's storming rainy here, so I'm not sure what you're hearing from me.
It's in your soul.
That's like 3,000 miles away. Woo!
Sing, Kim.
The good thing done. Freedom. Say freedom. Freedom. Good things say freedom. Freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, I see Aaron dancing over there. Yes, indeed. Yes. Oh, freedom.
Freedom, 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 freedom.